here before was I think Mason Mount is a good player. He's a player that I've always admired but never coveted. But I don't think he was the right player to put into this team because if you think about it, you've got Casemiro, who generally plays in front of the back four, but a lot of his best work last season came actually much further forward, where it turned out that he was better in that position, almost as a number 8, better around the opposition box and a little bit deeper than that than we thought he was, because he never had to really do that for Real Madrid. The thing is his legs aren't what they were, so expecting him to cover the entire width of the pitch while you've got two other blokes, Bruno and Mason Mount, whose job really is to make stuff happen around the edge of the box, makes it very difficult because how do you get the ball from one to the other? And in my opinion, you needed another player. So the kind of player that I would have signed, I believe we have to call it a profile these days. I personally call it a kind of player. The kind of player that United needed, I thought, was someone who was able to fill in for Casemiro, let's call it a number 6, but more often would play as a number 8. So you'd almost have two players, Casemiro and someone else, who was quite similar, who might eventually be his successor, but who was a bit more physical than Mason Mount is, whose job really is to get the ball from Casemiro, from Lisandro Martinez, to the more creative players in front. Now, it may be that Mason Mount is someone who's able to do that, but if it is, then Mason Mount's going to have to become a different player to the player that he is. I don't think that the model, say, that Pep Guardiola had in his first Manchester City team, where he had a 6 and 2 8s, would work with these players, because the 6 was Fernandinho, who was an athletic monster and at his peak, and Casemiro is not at his physical peak. He might be at his footballing peak in terms of his footballing intelligence, in terms of his ability to affect the game in attack. But physically, he can't cover for 2 8s ahead. And if you look at who Guardiola's 2 8s were, one of them was Kevin De Bruyne, who, when he's fit, is another physical monster. He's quick, but he's also physical. He's strong. And the other one was David Silva, who never gives the ball away. And if you look at who United have got, they've got Bruno Fernandes and Mason Mount, neither of whom are physically strong, although both can run. And also, they're both players that you're asking to gamble. You're asking to try stuff. And when that happens, you're going to see more matches like the game against Wolves last night, where if you've got teams, and I looked at Wolves midfield before the game, and Wolves, obviously, a lot of people are tipping them to go down. Then you look at the midfield and you see Lamina, Gomez, Nunes. And I thought, that is a proper midfield. And if you look at Cunha in front, you've got power, you've got strength, you've got intelligence, you've got a lot of things that are problematic for United. And so it's no great surprise when I see that United are interested in Sofian Amrabat and interested in Amadou Onana. But even then, if you look at those players, my problem with them would be that, are you going to end up spending 60 million quid on Mason Mount and say 40 to 60 million quid on one of them, when what you really needed to do is take all of that money and buy one player? So if you look at the way Chelsea have done it, there are obviously questions about whether what they're doing is allowed, and whether what's actually going to happen with Chelsea is that they're going to get a transfer ban for infringing FFP rules once they've signed all the players in the world that exist already. So it makes no difference. They don't need any players. But if you look at what they've done in their midfield, they've massively overpaid for Enzo Fernandez and they've massively overpaid for Moises Caicedo. But what have they actually got? They've got two of the players who look like they're going to be the best of the next generation, and they've got them signed to long contracts.